Welcome to PowerDrift. My name is Shumi and today we have to talk about one of the most exciting motorcycles of our time, the Hayabusa, which has just entered Generation 3. Now the new motorcycle, it's all new. It's got 6 cylinders, it's got 900 bhp, 3 turbochargers, 1 supercharger. It'll carry 5 people and it's cheaper. It's none of these things. The first Hayabusa was already an absolutely incredible machine. The first time I rode it, I remember you open the throttle, any gear, any speed, and it would blow your mind. Then the second one came out with the 1340cc engine, the last generation. It was even better and it blew my mind harder, and what Suzuki is promising as the new one. It's not very different if you think about it, but the new one will blow your mind even harder than before. But if you look at it, the spec sheet is very similar to the old one. So a lot of keyboard racers dreams about a motorcycle with superchargers, turbochargers and a lot more power, 250 bhp, 380 kilometers an hour, all of that is now zero. What Suzuki have actually done is they've said a very simple thing, which is if your motorcycle already hits 299 kilometers an hour or more, and remember there is a gentleman's agreement, so you can't have motorcycles that officially do more than 300 kmph, but if your motorcycle gets to that kind of performance, you don't really need more power or more top speed, because that only works on Instagram and when you're trying to argue the fact that you have a better motorcycle than your friends. So what Suzuki have done is they've taken the old 1340cc engine, tuned it comprehensively, so there's new conrods, new pistons, new camshafts, new valves, new settings, a longer intake, and a longer intake should immediately tell you there's more torque rather than horsepower, and created a machine that actually makes less power and torque than before. 10 bhp less and 5 Newton meters less. But what Suzuki is saying is whatever extra performance they found in this Euro 5 engine has been dedicated to creating a more interesting low and mid-range experience, which means when you open the throttle, any gear at any revs, this Busa will accelerate faster than the Busa that goes before it, even though it makes less power. So do they really need a supercharger? I think they don't, and think about it, the supercharged motorcycles are very expensive and the Busa will probably still be more reasonable in terms of price than something like a Ninja H2. The engine, since it's not changed a lot, also sits in a frame that's not changed a lot. So you still get an aluminum frame, it's been retuned, it's still got conventional suspension, no fancy electronics, Kayaba or KYB front forks, adjustable fully of course, and at the rear also another KYB unit. And the big change on the frame front is 320mm rotors with Stilema calipers. Remember, the Stilemas came out on the Panigale V4 and when we rode it, they were incredible. If you've ever hit a wall with a motorcycle, don't try this if you've not already done it, but if you've ever hit a wall on a motorcycle, you should know what Stilemas feel like to use, except for all the destruction and the damage and the time in the hospital and all of those things. They're absolutely incredible brakes. But that in sum is what they've done to the Hayabusa. Suzuki says this motorcycle will be super easy to ride for people of all kinds of skills, and it'll be a really effortless machine, and they've done the aerodynamics so that even at the top speed, you don't have to take off the mirrors and stuff to make the motorcycle stable, it'll just be stable. On the handling front, 50-50 weight distribution, little bit more weight on the front, a handlebar that's closer to the rider is the sum of what they've changed on the Hayabusa. And to be honest, I think that the changes suggest a motorcycle that's even more effective to ride on road. And remember, the Hayabusa was always a super effective machine to ride outside in the real world, even in heavy traffic conditions like we have in India. And that's the promise that I'm super excited about. Now this Busa was 10 years in development, so you have to ask, what the hell did they do for 10 years? Most manufacturers run projects simultaneously, where there are shorter term projects that produce small updates and longer term projects that actually produce the generation changes. And what Suzuki's deployed on the Hayabusa is a suite of electronics that I think was missing from the Hayabusa already when the last one went out in 2019 end. So you get an IMU, you get 10 levels of traction control, you get 10 levels of wheelie control, you get an engine brake control that controls how much the motorcycle dies when you close the throttle. It's a system that again started in MotoGP, is available on a lot of motorcycles and now also on the Hayabusa. You get a quick shifter with 3 settings. The sensitive setting will be difficult to use in India because the roads are bumpy. The middle setting is what you'd use, and of course you can turn it off. You've also got other things, like an interesting idea is they've got ABS link brakes, but they've also got a slope sensitive system. So if you're on a steep slope, it's quite easy to lift the rear wheel off under braking, but the Suzuki will already know that you're on a slope and change the parameters so that doesn't happen to you. The same data is also used for their new hill hold control, where you can come to a stop on a hill and then roll off without actually having to operate the brakes, because the Hayabusa knows what's going on. So, in sum, this new Hayabusa promises to be a lot easier to ride than before, produces more performance than before, although it's just 2 kilos lighter. It's going to be something that fits you as a rider more. It's also more flexible in terms of the electronics because you've got 6 riding modes, 3 that are preset and 3 that you can set up for yourself. You've got 3 modes of launch control that set the rev ceiling. And think about it like this. You can set it to launch at a max of 4, 6 or 8,000 RPM. That creates driveline strain, and you can choose to launch it at 4 because the Instagram guys who are watching this video and trying to like and share it, they just don't know any better. So Suzuki been very, very clever about the Hayabusa, and they've done that with style because the new motorcycle, I think, looks smashing. It's that iconic silhouette, but it's like it went to the gym and worked out really hard, and it's all muscle. There was some rumors about a dual layer fairing. That's not happened. So the orange highlight on the black bike, that's basically a radiator vent, and around that is something that PowerDrift is already arguing about, which is the chrome strip. Do you like the chrome strip, or do you think it takes away from the Hayabusa? Leave us a comment. And that brings us to what have they done for us in India. Well, the Indian bike will not get the integrated indicators. I think the Indian laws for indicators don't allow that to happen. So we will probably get LED indicators on stocks. That's change one. You will get an absolutely enormous sari guard because, well, that's how the Japanese do sari guards. And you will obviously get a front number plate as well. And this is important because I believe the old Hayabusa was already a CKD and the new one will be a CKD as well. And that means, yes, that the Hayabusa will be coming here. Suzuki has not confirmed anything, but I would say within the next 3 to 4 months, this motorcycle will already be on sale here. And obviously that brings us to the question of what will the price be. Now in the UK, we can see that the prices went up almost 30% from the old Hayabusa to the current one, that's generation 3. And I would assume that something similar is going to happen to India, right? But before you think, oh God, 30% is going to be very expensive, the old Hayabusa was not that expensive a motorcycle to buy at around the 14 lakh rupee ex-showroom mark. This one should be 17 to 18 lakhs, which is still about 2 lakh rupees cheaper roughly than the outgoing ZX14R, which is the motorcycle it normally competes with. With all the electronics added and a more interesting experience to ride on the road, that would actually make a very, very nice purchase, because I'll tell you this, all Hayabusa owners slowly discover that their motorcycle does things that the Splendor will do in terms of how it deals with traffic. It does things that other touring motorcycles will do in terms of going out on the highway. Hayabusas take bad roads really well, and as Karthikeya Singh will tell you, on a racetrack, a Hayabusa still remains large, but it's a phenomenal motorcycle to corner. How do you know more about this? This would be a good time to subscribe to PowerDrift. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, because we make the best videos on the Hayabusa and you already know this. So when this Busa comes to us, expect a smashing video out again and we'll notify you. All you have to do is hit the bell notification icon. Thank you so much. My name is Shumi. That is the brand new version 3 Hayabusa. I am super excited to ride it, and trust me, you never ride the spec sheet, you always ride the motorcycle, so stay tuned.